Greetings, I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of when you discover that old album that's new to you at the time, and it becomes a favorite album, right? A new discovery of an old album becomes a favorite album. That's when it happens all the time with me. You think with all the stuff that I have owned and bought in my time and listened to, I still regularly come upon old albums from yesterday, yesteryear, and all of a sudden, like, where's this been all my life? And it becomes a new favorite, right? So today's another example of that. We're going to do lots of these in this series, and I'm gonna kind of dip into the rock candy vault once again. You're going to get a bunch of rock candy stuff in the initial stages of this series, just because I've been buying so much of these rock candy reissues, in many cases of albums and bands I've never listened to before. So today's another example. This is a band that released their debut album in 1974 on ABC Records. One and done band. And when you first start listening to them, you're going to instantly say, oh my God, that's got to be a British band. No! It is a band from Los Angeles, California. The band is called Stepson. The album is simply titled Stepson. And this was reissued on Rock Candy back in 2013. Like I said, 1974. Formed in 1971. Four-piece band. First time I heard this, I was like, my God, that sounds like Humble Pie meets the Faces. You get that British rock thing right off the bat. But then the more you listen to it, you're like, all right, yeah, I can hear a little, maybe a little James Gang, right? Maybe a little Mountain. I believe Leslie Weston Mountain's management team also worked with Stepson. But I'll read you a little bit here. So it says, when it comes to earthy, early 70s ball-busting hard rock, then look no further than Stepson. Based in Los Angeles, amidst the backdrop of lightweight singer-songwriters and West Coast folk rock nonsense, Stepson must have looked and sounded about as out of place as Adele fronting Black Sabbath. So if it's power chords and rampaging riffs that float your boat, you must make sure to brace yourself for the perfect album. Formed in 1971, this crushing quartet was put together by veterans of the LA scene, looking to combine the MC5's wildcard attack with the blues power of Humble Pie. Bizarrely, guitarist Joey Newman had been a member of the Osmonds. He contributed to their hard rock showstopper Crazy Horses. Kind of cool, right? Before surrendering his soul to Stepson with enough pure firecracker riffage to level a small town. So it says, issued in 1974 on ABC Records, the album, despite being guided by Leslie Weston Mountain's management, sunk without a trace, right? So that's kind of the theme, right? There they are. And I'll show you there. Rock Candy always does a fantastic job with these things. So in the band, we've got Jeff Hawkes on vocals, Bruce Hauser, bass, lead vocals on one track, Joey Newman, guitar and vocals, and Len Fagan on drums. Also appearing, Jimmy Scooter Greenspoon plays organ on a couple tracks, Jeff Simmons plays harmonica on one song, and Don Gallucci plays piano on Back to Bama. Produced by Bob DeOrleans, engineers Stan Ross and Joe B. Maudlin. All right, so if you get the Rock Candy version here, you got some, little bit of factoids and history of the band, a few photographs, right? There's not much as far as photographs in here, right? So that shows you how kind of obscure this band was. But very, very cool album. The sound on this remaster is just really good. This album just bursts out of your speakers. It starts off with a killer track. Got 10 tracks on here. First track is called Rule in the Book, which is probably my favorite song on here. It's so memorable. The chorus is great, super catchy, but it's big and heavy and ballsy. The guitar tone is just immense. Really good rocker. Again, crushing Humble Pie meets Mountain, sort of, right? Just really, really good. Excellent, excellent track. And the vocals on this album are kind of like, to me at times they sound a little bit like Marriott meets Rod Stewart meets, in spots that I get a little bit of early Frampton, specifically from, that's like the Humble Pie connection here, just keeps speaking out of me because I hear like the style of the songs, the raucousness of it, the bluesiness, the soulfulness of it, some of the guitar tones and some of the vocals kind of have it's like this perfect marriage of Marriott and Frampton. More so Frampton, I think. A little bit is that kind of bluesy boogie rocker with harmonica. It's probably my least. It's not so much the harmonica, but it's not that as interesting a song. Rude Attitude is cranking. Really, really good. They do a cover of It's My Life by the Animals. It's done well. I would have rather heard another original track, but everybody was doing covers back then. I Apologize is got the organ. It's a little more soulful, a little more bluesy. Kind of reminds me of the Faces. Also, Back to Bama also heavily reminds me of the Faces as well. It's kind of got that, that kind of honky-tonk piano and just kind of bluesy boogie type of thing. Suffer is a great big heavy rocker. Love that. Man, I'm a Fool, another kind of bluesy heavy rock track. Then you got Turnpike, which is kind of got that James Gang sort of feel to it, with, again, a little bit of the Faces, a little bit of Humble Pie. And then Burnin' Heart might actually be the heaviest song on the album. They started off with a really heavy, ultra heavy song and ended with an ultra heavy song. Burnin' Heart is kicking big, meaty, crunchy guitar tones. This rampaging rock track on it. So good. Really good. I really dig this a lot. And the more you listen to it, the more you like it. And again, it's just another one of those rarities, these obscure bands that just kind of disappear without a trace. And then someone throws a Hail Mary decades later and says, hey, you know what? I bet you nobody heard this album back when it came out. I think a lot of people would really like to hear this. And so the folks at Rock Candy, in this instance, right, we're going to have other instances, but in this instance have reissued this. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, what a cool album. What happened here? Well, the story is not every band, not every album can be a monster seller. It's just the way it goes. For some people who are of the opinion that like, well, if it didn't sell, that means it wasn't any good. That's not the case, right? You get on a label, the label doesn't give you any support. They don't push for radio airplay and all that sort of stuff. It's really a luck of the draw, right? The bands that get the most push from the label, that get the most push from radio stations, right? That go out there and tour relentlessly, especially back in the day, got on the tours with the bigger bands. Those are the bands that really did well for themselves. Yeah, you got to have great songs too, but there's a lot of really talented bands that kind of fell by the wayside that had excellent albums that just never went anywhere because all those things just didn't happen for them. So always keep that in mind, right? Just because an album didn't sell and become a monster hit does not mean it's not good. I've seen a lot of people who comment on things here on the channel who are like, oh, there's a reason why this band never made it. No, it's not always the case, right? Because their songs were never good and there was so many other bands were so much better. That's not always the case. In some cases, sure. Right? A shitty band, a shitty album is a shitty band, a shitty album, right? But sometimes you have stuff like this that's just like, it has all the elements that a lot of other more popular bands have, but they just didn't get that break, right? It happens. So anyway, that's my little mini review today of Stepson, the self-titled debut from 1974. Also, I do want to mention they released years later a little compilation of archival, live, and rarities of stuff that did not make this album, recorded between 1972 and 1974. I don't have it. It's ridiculously expensive and out of print on CD. You can get some vinyl copies of it. I think it's like rare and archival and rare. I don't know, something like that. But it was released many, many years later. It's got like basically the same cover, but it's got all sorts of different, like 10 or 12 other tracks that did not make this album. So if you like what you hear here, you may want to go out and pick that up and find that. So anyway, there you have it. Stepson, 1974. We'll be bringing more of these to you in the days and weeks ahead. And these are not necessarily going to be all from the 70s. They're going to be 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, wherever. It's just going to be little, remember I used to do that Forgotten Favorite series where I told, well, these are going to be like little one-offs. So I'm going to be talking about these albums from bands that I wound up finding and they came into my life many, many years after their original release. And it's an album and a band that I now love, right? So see you next time. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, I got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options. All down below. Thanks, everybody, for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. And we'll see you soon here with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Tune in. Hudson Valley Squares in the Prague seat coming at you Monday and Tuesday this week, and other stuff. So stay tuned for all of it. I am Pete Pardo. Thanks. Bye-bye.